I feel like today I kind of want to, charge the battle line and, take on some, Englishmen, but I think I might like to start a podcast, actually.
You know what I think we should do? I reckon we'd forget this rebellion, and I reckon we'd just charge it. Charge it in a podcast. Just get our message across.
What's our message, though?
Let's just throw some banter about some classic movies. 'Cause you know what? I'll be fighting for my own review.
It's almost like a classic movie banter.
Hey, Brenton, how you going?
Hey, dude, I'm going pretty good. What about yourself?
I'm all right. Yeah. It could be better considering we're doing a morning recording of the show. So still waking up a little bit.
Change of pace.
Definitely a big change of pace. I just want to talk to you a little bit about we're doing a Scottish film this week, so I want to talk to you a little bit about accents. How are you going when it comes to accents? Like, do you find them hard or easy to do?
I find them pretty good, to be honest. Yeah,
I'm pretty good at them. I'm pretty fine.
It depends. Sometimes I have, bad accents I don't know, but some I know how to do. I did some accent work when I was in acting school. So yeah, while I was there,
back when I was classically trained.
Yeah, back when I was doing my acting school training, we did lots of accents. We did mainly the some American accents, and we did some European ones as well.
You say American European, like when you learn an American accent, there's not just like the one American accent.
There's different regions and places and dialects and things that some of them are slightly different, and then obviously some of them are pretty damn good, pretty different.
Yeah, because I feel like you lean on stereotypes when doing them, but like, do you? Is there a trigger that normally gets you into the accent?
I feel like accents. The way I kind of learnt them, because it's stereotyped now. I mean, like
as it's always been,
obviously. But I think when you really learn an accent, and more specifically, if you're doing a character or something, I guess the character, obviously, that's where the intricacies come into play. But mainly the accent as well, when you're studying it or learning to do it, we would often learn about the culture, learn about that culture's history. And
nice.
And that really informs, why those vocal patterns have changed throughout histories and why in today's modern society people speak like that.
Yeah, today must be a nightmare because we're so globalized. So people got like half Scottish, half Japanese accents, or like thanks to the beautiful globalization world where everyone's crossing paths and crossbreeding. Like you get all sorts of cool voices across the world.
Yeah, it's very interesting actually. Well, what's fascinating actually is when accents combine, and also just how much of our each culture's history really informs the way they speak, and yeah, it's interesting. And then of course, like you said, when they kind of amalgamate into like these crossovers, let's call them. Yeah.
Is there one that you find like extremely hard to do? Like you're given a character and you're just like, I can't do this.
New Zealand, I can't, like New Zealand's one.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
the Kiwis.
To be fair, I haven't like done a lot of work on it, because obviously I've never played a New Zealand character.
Oh, okay. And how is that New Zealand character? Wait, really? Like you never?
Yeah, no, I've never played a Kiwi.
New Zealand's got a good film industry. Like
never played a Kiwi in my life. But we did one kind of lesson on it at acting school, and it was like half a lesson, and it was like, oh yeah, this is New Zealand, So yeah, maybe one day I'll use it, but
just say Deary, just say Yibru. I know both my parents are Kiwi, so I'm allowed to poke fun at the Kiwis.
That's all I'll say. That's literally all I'll say is Yibru. And like it was like, what do you think of what's going on in Syria? Yibru. Like that's not an answer. What do you have any views on religion or
Yibru
on what's your view on the conspiracy theories of the Twin Towers attack? Yeah, bro.
That's why you ask Kiwis their opinions. Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Oh man.
So accents, aren't they difficult?
Oh Sometimes.
Yeah.
But they're fun. They're always fun.
They're so fun. I always at work just dive into silly accents. Like sometimes I'll be in meetings and I'll just just dive into a stupid voice, and they're like, Nathan, what are you doing? I'm just like, I'm just so bored. Like today I'm going to be French. Like let us talk about the progress of this meeting. And we're like, Nathan,
and they're like, we bro.
They'll throw it back at me. Or you know, also like a northerner accent. Like, what do you know? Like, you know nothing. So
it's a good time, man.
It's a great time. I always encourage people to learn more voices and funny voices.
Learn more funny voices. Learn where they come from. And
have you ever done like an accent to like confuse someone as to where you're from? Like I was overseas once, and I remember this one of the girls like in Hanoi was trying to sell me some stuff. You know how they come up to you and they try and barter and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
And I just pretended not to speak English, and I just dive into an Italian accent, like the worst Italian accent. And I'm just like, mi scusi, prego battitore. And I just made up all these random words. And she's like, no, you'll buy hat. And I'm like, prego, sì, signorita.
Dude, I do it all the time. That's how I practice. It's like I'll be going through the McDonald's drive-thru and I'll just whip out something and be like, I'm this now. But until this order is completed, I am now, you know, a hillbilly, you know, or whatever it is. It's
I just want some fries.
Yeah, or a Frenchman or whatever, like, you know, and you'd be surprised, like, you know, you said yourself, like, you know, if you do a real awful accent, people don't know you're, you know, faking it or acting. They'll just buy. They just buy it, you know. If you're committed, they'll commit. And
and then you'll commit together. They'll throw back the accent.
But yeah, good times.
Good times.
So welcome
Episode
to episode
19.
19. Oh my god, here we are. One off the big 2-0.
Back at it again.
Oh,
it's good. I'm so glad we got our clothes on this time, Brenton. Like,
well, you know what? It feels good. It feels like this is going to be a good episode.
Oh, same.
Because, you know, I've always wanted to go to Scotland.
Have you?
But I feel like aspects of this film took me there. Yeah.
As someone who has been to Scotland, I can completely agree that you have now definitely been to Scotland.
Oh, thank God.
Because you and I, we have a pre-show ritual where, I know, we're setting up the microphones and you and I, just for some reason, we always dive into a Scottish accent.
Yes. So we've been excited to finally do...
Well, we're really excited just to punch that into it.
Just to get right into it, you know.
We're just going to eat some haggis and
get some haggis and play the bagpipes. Go play the bagpipes and get your longsword and shove it up your arse, you know. And then we just, you know, we go for a little wee bit of a dance and then we have a good time, and that's the Scots life.
That's the Scots life in Scotland.
Yeah.
Bloody Scots, they're in Scotland.
Scots. Yeah. I really want to go still one day, but I can tick it off the bucket list because, as you said, I've watched Braveheart.
You've basically been to the Highlands.
I've watched Braveheart released in 1995, and now I've been there, you know. It took me there.
You really have. You've been to Glasgow. Well, you know, they're
Glasgow, yeah.
Glasgow. And also Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
As a Kiwi would say, Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, yeah.
Well, do you want me to pitch this movie for you?
I'd love you to pitch this movie to
for
me.
Sure, buddy. I'll pitch it right for you, alright? So, welcome to my office in Edinburgh Studios. So, I'm going to convince you that we got to tell this story about William Wallace. Ooh. He's just a wee lass from some small town, and he's got a lovely missus, but it may not be all Suns and Roses, because you got the English back then. They're being wee pricks, don't you reckon? They're kicking over vases and they're just spitting on our women. So you know, William Wallace, he just decides to do something about it, you know, and boy, does he do something. He does something quite rough, you know. He's a little rough and tough and kind of guy, and he shags them all up, frankly, those Englishmen. He takes them to the war, and it's a story about love and long hair and beautiful Scottish cinematography. As you watch Mel Gibson just act the hell out of a Scottish accent that's just a tiny bit better than this one right here, in a film that's certainly not for the whole family, or maybe anyone. We'll find out. It's classic movie banter.
I was gonna say, you forgot one little word there. that really sums up, what Mel's fighting for, and that's freedom,
Oh, freedom.
Freedom and haggis. That's
freedom and haggis. I was bitterly disappointed by the lack of haggis in this film. So, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Braveheart,
that's
1995. Directed by Mel Gibson and starring Mel Gibson.
Yeah, produced by Mel Gibson.
Oh, everything. And, this film's got like quite it won a lot of accolades, and it's kind of like everyone talks about Braveheart with fondness.
Don't they?
I watched this film back in the day. Not when I was too young. I watched it before I was probably 14, 15, I think, and so I watched it again since then, almost 10 years later.
To the very day.
Yeah.
And what did you think of it?
I liked it a bit better, to be honest.
Yeah.
Than what I did before, like I'd say it's an okay film. It's an okay to a good film.
Yeah.
It's not by no means a masterpiece, I'd say.
No, I agree with that.
It's for me, I'm a bit dumbfounded still as to why it's
so highly praised. Like people always talk about Braveheart, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I've just seen better versions of that kind of story told. You know what I mean?
True. Yes.
Like it's a beautifully made film. Like it looks nice, and like the acting. It's a hard film to criticize because everything's
that's
good.
Right.
That's
exactly right, dude. It's like technically every single aspect of this film, is well done, but there's nothing about it that is that takes it to that next level of
of like a Lord of the Rings or like a Titanic or like a real epic of like a Ben-Hur, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Or Gladiator. I feel like Gladiator is a much better story this time.
I agree.
Version of the story.
I agree.
And it's interesting because I thought knowing what we know now about Mel Gibson, watching that film in retrospect, that would be a distracting element of it. But honestly, I didn't find it that distracting. I wasn't looking at Mel just thinking about Mel. I was like, I believed him as William Wallace, and like, I poke fun at him, but he actually does an all right Scottish accent. Like, I believed he. Like, it's not the best, but like, I believed it was Scottish.
No, I think Mel Gibson really knows how to use the camera, work the camera, and as an actor, he's. Well, all the actors in this are kind of giving it their all. I will say, in terms of the acting, the actors that played the English characters in this film...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. The most one-dimensional, non-human beings you've ever seen in your
villains,
life.
Aren't they?
It's like the guy who plays the king in this film.
Yeah.
He's just rolling his R's, and doing this real... thick RP accent that's just...
He reminds me of a discount Donald Sutherland.
But that's it, isn't it? But it's too much. It's like a cartoon character.
He's just evil for the sake of being evil. Yeah. I know Edward II was a pretty cuckoo person, but
True.
But he's just...
there's moments that I like him. There's moments that I'm like, oh yeah, but there's nothing that really humanizes that character or brings it down to...
I feel like I'm going to make a lot of Gladiator references in this episode.
Okay,
it's a very similar movie. And I feel like Joaquin Phoenix did a much better job of playing an evil character, but you understood where they stood from.
Yeah, and also, again, it's just that human element that even if someone is just, like you said, cuckoo, thinks that they're divine and, has a divine right to land to everything, basically, because God has given it to them, you still, need someone, or, in Joaquin Phoenix's case, he's got other things going on as well, but, But you still want someone that's grounded in a certain reality, and I feel like the English scenes in this film and the Scottish scenes in this film, they don't match.
No, it's it's almost two separate movies.
That's isn't it? Yeah, that's one of my notes.
Also, with the English scenes, they're trying to be Game of Thrones, but failing really bad at it.
Yeah, true.
I actually wrote, when I was watching this film, I just kept on making comparisons to better works. I'm I feel like this is a boring version of Lord of the Rings, or this is a dumb version of Game of Thrones. I was just I don't know, or a less interesting Gladiator. It's just, I don't know, it's all fine, but it's such a classic story you've seen so many times of, the guy this feels a lot like a video game narrative. Something bad happens to Mel Gibson at the start, then he has to redeem himself, and
But I know what you're saying. It's just it's very by the mills. It goes through it. There's nothing really surprising that happens in this film.
No.
And there's betrayal and those elements to it, but there's not there's scenes that lead up to it, and you see it all coming. It's not. There's nothing that really makes this film special, is there?
No, and the soundtrack is beautiful, but
the soundtrack's incredible, yeah.
But I don't know, I feel I've heard better versions of it. Like when it comes to I love. Have you seen the new Macbeth, the one from 2015?
Yeah, dude.
I reckon that's a gorgeous Scottish soundtrack, and I reckon that's fantastic. I think that does a better job. I mean, obviously, it's made 20 years after Macbeth, so the cinematography. After Braveheart, so the cinematography is going to be better. But I know, I just feel like that. When I was watching this film, I just kept on thinking of better films.
Yeah,
and it's so funny because Mel Gibson, he's renowned for his violence and his fight scenes, and they're good in this film. There's two major ones in it, but I just kept on thinking of Game of Thrones and how much better that is.
Yeah, but to be fair, this is an older film and whatnot. And we've said that, and I actually think the battle, again, for me, the battle scenes are the best part of this film.
I agree. But there's not much tension in them.
No, there's not. But they're well shot. They're well directed. It's a real spectacle to watch.
It's gruesome. There's some good shots.
Two huge, actual all these extras that are in this film that have been choreographed and whatnot to fight this fight, and it's incredible. That just doesn't happen today.
No,
there's a real interesting spectacle to that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love the spectacle film, and so some of those extras were part of so they filmed a lot of this in Ireland, and a lot of those extras were actually part of the Irish army. So they had people on reserve just fill in as extras. So they put them in old costumes and just started charging at it, and I don't know, and the fight scenes are great, and you watch, people die in every way possible. People lose legs. A guy gets stabbed in the dick at one point. Someone gets their head chopped off. I feel
it's like an underhand swing of an axe, right up between the legs.
It's so good. You just watch Brendan Gleeson just chopping wood.
I was going to bring that up. Hey, how's the young Brendan Gleeson? Hey,
he's so good. I still think of Mad Eye Moody when I see him.
Of course, I think of it that guy has just got the most incredible filmography. He's he plays a lot of side characters, but he's just been in everything.
It's just weird seeing him do this and then also seeing him do something like In Bruges or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're just fuck, you're a great actor.
Yeah. He does a lot of period pieces, especially around this time. I mean, I think of Gangs of New York. He's in Troy as well, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
With Brad Pitt for some reason.
Yeah. Brad Pitt and Eric Bana going at it with Orlando Bloom being Orlando Bloom, I guess. Yeah. Oh man, Troy, hey.
Oh, what a waste of a film. No offense to Troy. Actually, no, some offense to Troy.
I don't mind Troy. Troy's like one of those. It's like a guilty pleasure. It's yeah.
But no, he's great. I love the random Irish dude who rocks up.
Oh yeah,
who's
dude.
Completely batshit
crazy. He's just
crazy.
nuts. There's a stereotype that they're just crazy Irishmen. Yeah. I own the island. It's that's my island.
He's so good though.
Really?
I love him in it.
Yeah.
And Mel Gibson's just let's just see how this goes, because everyone's he's batshit crazy, but he's we could use this.
It's I'm just gonna keep you with my generals and stuff, and you're just gonna be around. Tactically, you're not gonna make many great decisions, but it's nice to have your input sometimes.
It's great.
It just keeps everyone in check. It's oh yeah, he's nuts. Cool.
He's all right,
Don't do that.
So yeah, and it's so funny because the Scottish have such vitality and life in their characters, but when you can juxtapose that to the prince and the princess, and it's just it's just so boring. And you've just seen that story of the prince not really being in love with the princess, and the princess just wanting to leave the castle. You've just seen that story so many times, so it's just so cliche by the time you watch this film.
I think so my two big criticisms of this is, one, the length. It's 3 hours.
Oh yeah, it does not need to be 3 hours. It
doesn't, at least there's half an hour that can be cut from this.
I say full hour.
I agree, but let's give them their due, and if that's the full story they want to tell, I'd say half an hour's. Yeah, you could do it. Yeah. But my other big thing is still going back to that thing. I feel there's 6 films in this one film. Yeah. You have the romance at the start with between. I should say there's 6 films, but none of them are really connected. So it's stuff going on with the English. There's a subplot with the French princess, and that storyline.
Yeah.
There's the plot of the war that's happening, and then there's another plot where it turns into guerrilla warfare. There's another plot where it's the start of the film, and he's a young boy, and then there's the plot with the setup of of him and his wife.
Yeah, it
takes its time with each of them, but they're all just so distant from each other that nothing's really connected.
It takes a while for the rebellion to get going as well.
Sorry, and I forgot the other film is the one of what's his name? I think his name's John, the King of Scotland.
Oh yeah,
the eventual King of Scotland and his father.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's
there's
right.
that whole storyline. It's just like
That's like the whole who's the Cuckoo King in the Twin Towers? The one who's like poisoned.
Oh yeah,
he reminds me a lot of him.
Rohan, yeah, the King of Rohan.
Because his dad's like poisoned in this film or whatever his dad has, and it's like it reminded me so much of that. It just this film just feels like shadows of just other films.
Yeah,
It's funny because this was made before Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and just all that kind of stuff. So if anything, these guys may have taken influence from Braveheart.
Exactly. Yeah, I was about to say you got to give it its due in that it probably did influence a lot of like these epic, medieval / fantasy films,
And this film did do a lot for Scotland. Like when I visited Scotland back in 2015, I did a kind of Braveheart tour. I remember I was going on a bus and I was going up to the Highlands, and we drove past where the battle was.
Yeah,
and it's so funny because there's
the first battle,
the first one.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because like there's just now a motorway that goes through it. So you literally just drive down like the M1 and the guy like on the bus is like this like guy in a kilt. He's just like, if you look to your left, if you've seen the film Braveheart, that's where they did the battle. And you just look out the window, it's just like a random field. Like there's nothing special about it.
You're just like, oh yeah.
And it's so funny because when I went to Scotland for the first time, I was like, oh, I should watch Braveheart, get me in the mood for Scotland.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in the hostel one night. I'm like, I'm not going to go out. I need to sober up, so I'm just going to watch this film. I remember like starting like the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, I'm just not in the mood. Just shut the laptop and end up going out, and I knew nothing about it. And honestly, you don't need to. Like, I know this film like renewed a lot of interest in Scotland. Like, people are like, oh, Scottish history, yeah, and that's awesome. Scotland has awesome history, but like, I don't know. This film is so historically inaccurate that it really doesn't paint a good picture of Scotland.
That's it, isn't it? It's so historically inaccurate. I'm pretty sure like Scottish people didn't wear kilts around this time either. Like there's like lots of little things, and then there's obviously lots of big historical.
Yeah, there's spoilery stuff we can talk about soon. But
yeah, of course. I feel like we will go into the historical stuff, and spoilers, nothing but spoilers. But last thing I kind of wanted to say about this as well was that Mel Gibson as a director, I feel I've only seen 2 of his films.
Okay.
I've seen Braveheart, and I've seen most recently Hacksaw Ridge.
They're my only 2 as well. They're the only 2 I've seen as well.
And I feel like for me this is a better film than Hacksaw.
Oh, I'm the opposite.
But I'd say that they both have the same issues. I walked out of Hacksaw Ridge and I was like, that was like 4 films in one film.
That's so true, because the first half of Hacksaw is like this weird romance with Andrew Garfield.
That's it.
And then it just halfway through radically switches to this like hard-ass war film.
Which I can kind of get what he was trying to do, and I can even understand why people like both these films and like or love both these films. But for me, again, the best parts of Hacksaw Ridge was the incredible battle scenes. And like as a director, I feel like that's like Mel Gibson's staple. But it's like for me, it's kind of that's not just a film. It's like you need the connective tissue to like make it into something more,
Yeah,
but maybe I'm just batshit crazy because everyone seems to love this film and Hacksaw and
it's great, and obviously
they both won heaps of awards and stuff. So it's not like
yeah, but like that's the reason we're doing this podcast, Brenton. We're not doing it for other people's opinions.
Yeah,
we're doing
true.
it for our opinions.
Yeah.
And like it's true. Like people also when people talk about this film, they talk about the speech, like the very famous speech that Mel Gibson does before the battle. And when that scene rocks up, like it is amazing. Like it is genuinely like I remember just like lying, just like sitting down, just being like, I wanted to stand up and I'll be like, yeah, brothers, let's just do it. Like, I remember just wanting to charge out. I'm like, let's fight for Australia. But and it's great. But honestly, I feel like you could just go on YouTube and just watch the clip and that will do it for you. Like you don't need any context to it. It's just a general, just like, because like, yeah, when the scene happens, like they're all not that really keen on doing the battle. The Mel Gibson rocks up with his face paint and his long hair, which we'll get to.
Yep.
And like he talks for like 2 minutes and you're just like, fuck yeah. And then the battle happens. Like, but you just don't need to watch the whole film to lead up to it.
Yeah. I'm a bit conflicted because part of me is like, yeah, this is good enough for a thumbs up, but I feel like if I'm really recommending this to people, I don't like. How can I recommend for people to sit down and watch this for 3 hours?
Yeah, like 3 hours.
You know what I mean? Like it's just.
I mean, we've reviewed 3 hour films on this podcast, but they're films with a lot more meat in the meal. You know what I mean? So that
being said,
how would you rate it? Honestly,
I will stick with like what I thought when I first watched it, and I'll say a thumbs down. Yeah,
I think I'm actually going to say thumbs down with you.
Yeah,
genuinely,
because I could easily say thumbs up, but like if I'm really recommending this, like it's not really worth your time. And
there's just better stuff out there.
That's right, and you're better off watching like the battle scenes and a few of the, because William Wallace, the character itself, like has some funny quips and stuff in this film. Like there's some funny scenarios that happens. Just watch it on YouTube, dude.
It's true.
Yeah,
like Mel Gibson makes a lot of funny faces, which you should definitely just watch a compilation video of, because half the film was just Mel Gibson making a really weird face. But like, yeah, I feel like, because I can't recommend it if you like battle scenes, because you can just watch Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings or just any film set in Scotland. Watch Harry Potter. That has beautiful Scottish cinematography. I can't recommend it if you're interested in Scottish history, because it's just so historically inaccurate. It was a really, like, if it had high fidelity to like the actual historical like thing that happened, then I really recommend it from like an academic point of view. But it's just not. It's just so egregious compared to what actually happened in Scotland. So like, I just can't point you in that direction. So I don't know who this film's for, frankly. I can't. And like, obviously Mel Gibson has now, a stain on him. So like, it's not that should step upon the work. I've always held the belief that the work should always stand separate from the artist. But like, that being said, I just feel like he's not that extraordinary in this film that you couldn't get it elsewhere. Like, the directing has been better elsewhere. Like, he's done better work. Like, I'd recommend Hacksaw over this, because I feel like the battle scenes in Hacksaw are probably better than the battle scenes in...
True, but I feel like that's a timing thing. I feel like...
Yeah, obviously 20 years later, he's a better director and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, thumbs down from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah. But the first thing I want to get to into spoilers is, of course, Mel Gibson's hair throughout the film.
Spoilers, nothing but spoilers. Oh my God, what a mane.
I know hair's now been like a running thing I've talked about the past couple episodes, and honestly I'm debating whether this is the best or worst haircut in cinema. I really don't know.
I think it's the worst. It's so funny when he rocks up as
he looks like a Bratz doll, like a badly kept Bratz doll.
As adult William.
Because as a kid his hair is nice.
Yeah. Is it? It's heading in this awful direction. It's like
what happened overseas. Like, as soon as his wife sees him, she's like, "God, what happened to you?"
But like, you have this beautiful shot of where he rides in on the horse, and it's a great introduction. You're like, "Oh, there he is. He's an adult." And he gets off the horse and he comes into his old town. And granted, he sees his future wife over there. And it was the girl that gave him the flower at the start, and you're like, how the fuck does he know? Like, he hasn't seen her since then. And he's like, that's her. And it's like, really? It's like you just saw like the most beautiful woman in like this Scottish village, and you're like, she's got to be the one. Like,
yeah. And that was a great scene when he comes back to the village and they have that random rock throwing competition.
Oh, dude, they throw rocks. They like what the fuck?
Like, it was pretty loose back in the 1200s, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Let's just fucking like, let's throw these boulders and like, yeah, like,
cool. He's like genuine brain damage to the other guy as well.
Yeah, like Brendan Gleeson, dude. Like, he's got to get he's got to get a CAT scan. He's got to I want to
see the bloopers of just Brendan Gleeson being hit by a fake rock like on set. Okay, that was great. Also, like, have you noticed like some of the sound effects in this film? Like when he throws a punch, like it's a really hard, like, remember when they're kids and and he punches one of the kids
him in the face, and it's like,
it's the most harsh sound effect in the world. Like, this kid just sounds like they've been hit by a bus. Like, it's so harsh.
But back to William Wallace's hair. The reason I brought up the wife was she looks at him like, oh yeah, like it's on, like, and they're both like falling in love. It's like that love at first sight kind of thing, and it's kind of
very Avatar, isn't it? Like,
yeah, well, yeah.
It's like, come on, Materia, let's join our tales.
But it's like, really, he's the one. Look at that mangy mane. Like, oh my God. I know.
It's just like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you doing? But I don't know. I love it. Like, you know what?
But at the start of the film, can we also talk about his father and brother die? There's a burial and whatnot, and then he's there. Like, so the burial, this is medieval times, so it probably would have happened the next, the same day or the next day, because there's no real way of preserving these bodies and whatnot in this time. They've got to get them buried. And then, so he's standing, little William's standing there. He gets his flower, girl rides off. Another horse rides up. This guy gets off and goes, "William, I'm your uncle."
That's such a badly delivered line, isn't it? Like, oh God, it's got the weird glass eye as well.
How did he know? Who the fuck's this uncle? And what? Like, was he just stopping by and he just happened to be there, or like, "William, I'm your uncle"? It's like, all right, and then he goes with him,
and he just goes overseas for like this whole big trip. I thought that would have been a way more interesting movie, because he's like, he did all these pilgrimages and like Italy and that kind of stuff. That would have been a much more interesting film. Like, just watching Scotland people just like rip the shit out of Italians. It's just why do you have to be plex? Che cosa? Just punching them through.
Where does he go? Because he goes to like he goes. I think he says he goes to Rome. like walking through the streets of Rome with like a kilt on.
It'd be great. And you know what? Going back to that shock puss scene, I found also really funny. When they're doing it, the crowd are like standing like so narrowly close in like between the two of them as they're throwing the rocks. Like as Brendan Gleeson's throwing the rock, like the crowd are maybe like 2 meters apart from each other either side. It's like he could easily just throw the rock at any of you. Like any of them could be hit.
It's like Brendan Gleeson like throws the rock at, you know, at Mel, the big boulder, and like this kid runs in front of it and like just crushes his skull, and everyone's like, "Hey!"
I thought that was going to be foreshadowing. I thought he was going to do it in the battle, like just halfway through the big battle. Like Brendan Gleeson just picks up a rock and just starts like being OP and just like knocking everyone out.
Dude, yes, that would have been awesome.
I thought that would have been amazing, but he doesn't do it. And you know what? I feel like this film is just borrowing from a lot of other things, even though this was made before the other things happened. Case in point, when his wife is killed, like the film suddenly transitions weirdly to like an Assassin's Creed moment. Like, did you notice this? Like, as soon as the wife dies and like, you know, he's about to storm the fort, it's like the start of an Assassin's Creed mission where like, you know, the camera kind of pans around like the fort, you can see the weakness points and you can see them all standing, and like you're almost just like waiting for the little thing to pop up on like a PlayStation, just being like, this is your target, you have 5 arrows.
He like does the dive off the tower, like the leap of faith, and he like falls into the barrel of hay, and then he just starts like with his wrist blades just like going at it.
That's what I thought. It felt like Assassin's Creed, and like, and when he rocks up, he just like whips out like the hook blade, but it's like a weird kind of claw thing, and that's a great moment though when he's just chopping down guys, and like the Scottish folks are like, oh, do we join him? And then he's just winning, and like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. Because in this film, I don't know if I like that all these men are kind of painted as cowards, because like the Scottish is so divided in this film. Like, yeah,
it's strange. It's like you have the lords and the and then you have like the common folk, and then
he's like, fuck your titles, just like get off your asses for 5 minutes. And they're like, oh, but you know, I want a big piece of land. And you're like, you're not helping the problem, you're just making it worse.
But at the same time, you can understand. I mean, like, it's a big thing to take. I know William simplifies the issue, but I think, like, you know, it's a big thing to be like to ask your people, hey, will you go to war?
Yeah.
And probably
I don't know why they
lose.
just didn't make him king, because like the actual Scottish king is just such a spineless dude, and like,
I mean, yeah, he is, and then he kind of like learns from his mistake, and he's like, all right, I'm going to help this guy, and then his dad bloody backstabs him.
Oh, it's so bad,
and is the reason that William is killed.
I hated his father so much. What the fuck is going on with his dad? What is that he's got? Like,
he's got can you imagine? He's just like this disease-ridden like old dude living in the Middle Ages, just like. Oh,
so just put him out of his misery. Just like he's just spitting shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's not helping you. He's not a good royal advisor. I wonder if anyone else knows he's alive, because like I feel like his son's the only one that sees him. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's what's kind of funny, is that he's the only one that has scenes with like the son, and like that's the only time
we see that. Never there again.
But
what if he doesn't exist, Brenton? He's an hallucination.
He clearly does, because he organizes the ambush on William Wallace. But it's that other issue of that, like, in this world, in this film, everything's so disjointed that there's like, it's like another film in itself, the relationship between him and his father. It's just odd. Yeah,
it's just weird. I don't know, I just didn't like the dynamic, and I just wanted the king to die, frankly. I just wanted like Mel Gibson just to brute him and just like stab him and then just like take the throne. It's like, dude, you're a much better ruler. But like,
quick side note, couple random little side characters that appear in this film that I was like, hey, it's you. You know, the sergeant there's this like sergeant guy at the start. He's
the one who kills the wife?
No. The one that's like above him, that they then go to that fort, and he's like the head of that fort, and then they're all like in the garb, and then he's the one that originally comes to the town and is like takes that guy's wife and is like, I come and I declare this and I take your wife. He's quite like, you know, he's got I don't know, he's got a bit of a round face.
What a dumb rule, by the way, as well, prima nocta. It's like, you know, letting them sleep with each other, like being the first
I mean, that was just a way of controlling the masses.
Breeding them out. It's like, come on, you're just asking for a rebellion if you're just doing that. It's like, what best way to piss off the Scottish?
I mean, like, the English weren't the only ones that did it. Like, you know.
Oh, no. Like, it was widespread in Europe. It's like, come on, guys. It's like, you're not... you don't know how to rule. Like, if people aren't going to be happy with you, they will rebel.
There was pretty awful times. I mean, like, there was, like, a lot of armies, I'm pretty sure, like, back in the day, like, if you'd sack a city or whatever, like, there was a reason that the men would sack the city and rape the women. It was like, because you don't want that city rising up to then, once you pass through it or whatever, to rise back up or regroup or like.
Which, by the way, is not exclusively a medieval thing. Like,
no,
if you look at the war crimes in Afghanistan, not to bring politics into this, but like it still happens today.
It's true, It's a horrible.
It's very easy to say it happened in the Dark Ages, but unfortunately, in war today, soldiers still turn bad and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's
thankfully not as widespread, but and when the wife gets raped, like it's horrendous. But back to your general.
Yeah, so he's Lord Royce from Game of Thrones. He's the guy from the Eyrie, and also Brendan Gleeson's father is the Mormon, the head of the Wall. Yeah, I don't know. Those two popped out, and I was like, "Hey,
good to see you guys." I know I love recognizing actors.
And you're just like, "Oh yeah, medieval." Like there they are.
Still medieval.
They're back, and they both die. And guess what? Oh wait, no. Lord Royce is still alive in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
At this stage.
Yeah,
because he was like when spoilers for Game of Thrones season 7.
Thanks, Brenton. I just started the show.
Season 7 Game of Thrones. Peter Baelish. He's
okay. Really whip out the spoilers now.
His death scene when the actors all like, I think not, and it's like, why the fuck aren't you taking him? But your commander just like ordered you to take him back to like his castle, and you were like, I think not. Like, you should probably be executed as well.
It's like, dude, like you did, but you read the room, like you're not going to get away from this. It's like, but how sad is the wife's death? Like you could see it coming from a mile away.
But it's still genuinely shocking the way that's shot and edited. Like when it, the knife just goes across and you don't really see the violence of it, and then
it's just such a quick death as well. Like, it's so effortless.
Yeah, it's meaningless. Which is what it is. And then it's kind of that moment where he gets his revenge, where he puts that guy on the same, in the same spot, like tied to the rake, and then you see him slit his throat. And
but you can also see that Mel feels nothing. Like it's not cathartic for him. He's just like, he doesn't feel whole from it. He's just like, he just does it just because he must. Like it's not out of revenge.
It's like a prerequisite of like,
kill this guy now to kill the entire country. It's like,
he
just
that
his
escalates, isn't
rage.
It? Well, that's another thing. Like, I don't really see the escalation between the wife is dead, I took revenge on this garrison, and then we're going to just chill out here now because we know that, like, the English are going to come wipe us out, this little town. They then get support from, like, another clan, and then the next thing is, all right, well, let's just fucking go to war.
Yeah.
And, like you don't really see that escalation. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it does. But you know what? That first fort scene where they attack that fort is amazing. I thought
dude.
That was easy. That's probably my favourite scene in the whole film. Like, that first big fight on the fort.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn.
When they like flip that guy off the tower, I think
and he lands on the spike.
And he lands on like the picketed fence.
He Christopher Lee's
oh my god! Yeah, he does. He does.
Like, it's amazing. Like,
side note: that scene from the Return of the King
spoilers
extended
for
edition.
the Two Towers.
I always laugh when I watch that deleted scene because the way he just falls and it's just so violent, and you're like, what the fuck?
And he just spirals down, and then, like, he lands on the pike, and then, like, the wheel starts turning, and he just sinks into the water.
But that's it, isn't it? Like, he just it's like the camera pans down, and you're like, oh, he's going to just hit the ground or something. He hits this spike, there's this awful sound, and then the camera just kind of lingers there in silence of like, well, that was awkward. Like,
and like, the trees are just standing there watching him sink.
We're like, well, that happened.
What's the better Christopher Lee death scene? Like, the one in Lord of the Rings or the one in Star Wars?
Ooh,
it's a hard one, isn't it? That's really hard.
Because you've got do it, and then you've got him falling onto the spikes awkwardly.
I think I enjoy the spike. You know what? I wish there was a fan edit of like a combined one. Like, there's Anakin and Obi-Wan just standing at the top of the tower in Lord of the Rings, and they both got the lightsabers to his neck, and they cut his head off, and then they kick the body, and he does like the full-on falling down onto the spike. I reckon that would be amazing.
Yeah, let's make that happen. Let's do a re-edit and just that's what we should do. Re-edit those two films together.
Fan edit. We'll do a banter edit of it.
Yeah.
Just
this kind of like, I'm kind of happy with my decision to give this film a thumbs down now, because now we're talking about Lord of the Rings and Star Wars crossovers, and we're still not, which are more interesting than the spoilers for this film.
Oh, speaking of reoccurring things, I can't believe we watched another film this week with a guy hunting a deer with a bow and arrow. Did you notice that?
I did, yeah.
I was like, can this please cross over with Deliverance? Like, just suddenly, like, they're canoeing down the Georgian River.
Oh my god!
And Burt Reynolds is like with his bow and arrow. Then suddenly Mel Gibson in full paint just rocks up, and what's his name?
John Voight.
John Voight is trying to like shoot the deer, but then he can't do it. So Mel Gibson just steps in. He's like, "Let me do it."
I'll do it. I will. Watch me do it.
I'll shoot the deer. But he doesn't kill the deer again. The deer gets away.
Yeah, because he gets attacked by. He thinks he's going to be attacked by Mr. Irish Crazy Man, and that's actually the other guy that signed up with the Irish Crazy Man that's coming at him with the sword, and then the Irish Crazy Man saves him, and then it's kind of like...
That's a great introduction. Great character introduction.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
And they have a little bit of banter
A little bit of banter. They talk about some classic Scottish movies.
And then they just go off, and that's that.
Yeah. And I loved it. I swear the arrow shooting is like a recurring motif of the show. Because like I swear in Princess Mononoke they had a scene like that. And like...
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's just deers are being hunted. We should do the deer hunter at some point.
We should definitely do it, yeah.
Climax this running gag that we have in the show.
I really don't like the French princess.
What's his name? Isabella? Or like...
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Like, I think like that's a really weak subplot.
She's just... And because historically it is like interesting because like... the history is so much more interesting than what's actually in the film.
That's right.
Also, he in real life he never fell in love with her. Like,
but the affair's just so boring. It's just like I don't think he does fall in love with her in this film almost either.
No, he does, but like she hints that he knocks her up, and like,
well, she says like, this isn't like your grandson. This is William Wallace's son, and it's like, well, shit.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, how does she how does she know? Because if she's pregnant and like the son, the prince, like hasn't, because we can infer that he is homosexual.
Oh, you can tell the second you meet him. Yeah. Oh, and how crazy is that scene where the king throws his lover out the window?
Oh, that was great.
I love that scene.
I was
he comes back and he's all being chill, and then like he's like grabbing the son. He's like, "Dude, you're gonna clean up this shit."
But
and then his lover's like,
"It was cool to see the king actually do something."
Yeah, because he's all talk, and then like his lover's like, "Oh, I'm a pretty good military strategist," and then like, the king's like, "Oh yeah, really, really." And he like walks him to the window. He's like, "So mate, what do you reckon I should do? Like, what's the plan?" And he's like, "Oh well, I think you should," and he just hurled him,
out the window.
Flies out the window,
and then what's funny is that the guys like down the bottom are like, "Oh my god, this guy's been murdered." Look up, see it's the king, and they're like, "Hey, it's all good."
It's like, what you gonna do? Like,
he's just messing around again, throwing people out windows. Yeah, you do you.
Yeah. And then his son like whips out a knife and he tries to stab the king, and like, which is regicide, so it's like, good job, buddy. But then the king just like kicks the knife away and just like punches his son in the face. It's like, it's a great moment.
The son's like, didn't see that coming.
but I love the king like at the end when he can't speak, and like the Isabella, like that's the one good thing she does.
I was about to say that's the only bit of payoff of
and she's
the
like,
whole
I
plot
killed
of the film.
Mufasa, and he's just like,
oh my god, the crossovers are real this episode.
It's so great.
I was gonna say as well, like, it's so like, I hate a storyline too at the start when it's like she's in this, she's just been married to this homosexual prince who like obviously isn't giving her any attention, and she's an outsider, she's got no like power in this situation or whatever, and she's talking to her handmaiden, I think, about William Wallace of all people, and they're like, oh, that's real love, like, and it's like, what the fuck? It's like, what are you talking
your country's
about?
At war. What are you? Like,
why are you talking about the Scottish enemy, some like commoner in the north, and you're like, oh yeah, he's the epitome of love. It's like, yeah, maybe, but like, how do you know that at this stage?
Like, it's like war stories from it. It's like, what are you doing?
It's just weird. Yeah,
and it's like, I don't know. And then like, I don't know. I feel like this film's just like Mel Gibson just trying to pick up chicks, because like he's hallucinating about his wife the whole film, and then like he meets Isabel and they have this chemistry, and then eventually he sleeps with her, and then he goes back to hallucinating about his wife, and they're just like.
Part of me thinks though that it was like him having the affair to like
move on,
to impregnate her. No.
Oh, okay, like to have a son. It's like rebuild my legacy. Like,
well, not even that. Like to as like revenge on that king. It's like, haha, your heir is not going to be your heir. It's me.
I love how he spits out the medicine she gives him as well.
Great scene.
Yeah, that's a really, really good scene. But yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Not really. I guess the torturing scene at the end's pretty, it's all right.
Yeah, I've seen better torture, frankly.
It's like when because I presume they're hanging him, drawing him, quartering him. They're doing So the drawing bit, when they're meant to like cut out like so his intestines and shit fall out. It's like you see like the upper part of his body, and it's like, what are they doing down there?
Are they just
you know what I mean?
His dick?
Like I think we could, but. Like if you know the history, you're like, oh, that's what they're doing. But if you don't, you'd just kind of be like, what?
Maybe they just start tickling him. Like, that's what they're really doing.
He's like, oh.
And everyone's like, oh, not the tickling. He's like, guys, I'm so
Just
sensitive.
say mercy. And he's like, freedom. They're like, oh, just chop off his head. Come on.
It's like the tickling ain't working, boys. It's like, oh, they always break at the tickling. Like,
yeah. Yeah, but, good battle scenes. I like the bit when they all pick up the spears and take out the cavalry. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
That's cool.
It's good to see him as an actual military strategy. Like, he has a smart mind for it. Like,
yeah. But apart from that, spoilers, it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatevs.
But there's better films. Okay, so, hey, Brenton, let's look at Braveheart's poster.
Oh, hey, let's have a look.
Yeah, it's a good shot of Mel Gibson and his historically inaccurate. I'm actually not that triggered by the historical inaccuracy. Like, let a film take license. Like,
it's kind of whatevs.
Yeah, but I don't know. The sun's like glowing from behind him. Like, but here's the thing: the poster makes it look as though he's a ginger because of the way the sun's on his hair. But he's definitely not a ginger.
He's not. And
I'm offended by that. I like it when you go full Scottish and they got the beautiful red manes. Like,
I gotta say though, his longsword in this film, it's in this poster, is like the coolest longsword ever. It's like it genuinely looks beastly. This sword.
Oh yeah, it looks dope. I like the little boys in you and me. It's like, I like his weapon. Like, I like his sword. Like,
yeah, again,
I can recommend his sword. The prop's pretty good.
The slogan: "Every man dies, not every man really lives."
Yeah, I just feel Gladiator's just better. Like, I hate to compare this to other work, but just, I don't know. We're talking about the poster. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's all right. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's like, what else was it going to be?
What do you reckon he's looking at in the poster? He's probably.
I feel like he's hallucinating about his wife again. It's actually a really traumatic moment. Yeah. For me, an alternative to this could have been just this, like the final shot, the sword in the grass on the open fields of Scotland.
Oh yeah, I reckon that would have made a good poster. Like, this poster doesn't really show the Scottish cinematography, like the beautiful Highland. Like,
but I feel like it kind of does need to be William Wallace. I mean, it is his story.
It is his story. Like, yeah. I don't know. I reckon it should have been just Mel Gibson about to throw a rock. I reckon that's a good freeze frame.
Oh my god! Yeah, the rock throwing contest. It's like Brendan Gleeson and Mel Gibson. It's like a buddy cop kind of film. It's like they're both like throwing rocks and they've got like these big grins on their faces.
That's exactly
Braveheart.
I would love to see it's a body cop version of this story. Like, they're just both interviewing Englishmen, like trying to work out who did a murder. Like, it's like The Nice Guys, but like but in medieval Scotland, which I would watch in a heartbeat. I reckon it'd be a much better film.
Oh, let's make it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. That's great. And then title talk. They never say Braveheart in the film. I thought...
No. And there's no real Braveheart.
No. Bad title. Because hearts can be brave, I guess, but like... Who is brave? Who's the Braveheart?
I think he's referring to... It's not a bad title. Like, it's Braveheart. It's
Braveheart. It sounds beautiful in a Scottish accent.
Braveheart. Like, yeah, like...
Avenge me. Like, oh my gosh, the wife should have done full like Norman Osborn from Spider-Man.
Avenge me.
She's like, be the Braveheart you always meant to be.
And then they throw a dagger at a mirror and it reveals like the goblin lair, and then she flies out in the glider and it's like, what the fuck?
Like, it's like a medieval battle, then he just whips out like the goblin glider and just starts blowing them all up.
The bomb that incinerates, like, out am I?
I swear that like, we have to tie every movie review into the Spider-Man trilogy.
Dude, I tell you, Willem Dafoe, you were invited to this podcast. Like, we would love to have you as a special guest one day.
Oh,
like, that is my dream on this podcast, to talk about Spider-Man with the Green Goblin himself.
Imagine if Sam Raimi directed this like film, like a Braveheart, do all these zooms and like
Bruce Campbell just rocks up randomly, like
it'd be great. I don't know, what else would you have called this film? Maybe like
William Wallace Goes to England.
So like a good travel film. William Wallace Goes to England. 10 reasons to visit Scotland. Like, it's like a BuzzFeed article. Or maybe, I don't know, like call it like Scottish Roots or something like that. Like, make it historical, like The Ballad of William Wallace or something like that.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, The Ballad of William Wallace.
I like it because I think that's what like it's based on, like the book. I think it's like a poem or something like that. So yeah, I don't know, Braveheart.
But maybe Braveheart's part of the poem or something then. I feel like that's the link, maybe, but I don't know.
So,
but
should we give?
This is very timely, I feel, because we're talking about freedom and the common people and giving power to the people. So let's just do that right now.
Let's just hear from the people.
Power to the people.
I want to hear what they want to say. So, Matty T, he's given it 5 stars.
Oh boy!
And he says, ignore the factual and historical inaccuracies and enjoy.
Yeah, like I can understand.
I agree.
Yeah,
with that.
I can totally understand.
Oh, sorry. Before I even get into that, I didn't even say what the bloody Rotten Tomatoes was. God, I'm losing the plot today, Brenton.
Oh, what's going on? You lost the plot.
I don't know. You know what I was disappointed in? There's no haggis in the film. They never eat haggis. Or if they do, they never mention it.
I would have given this film a 10 out of 10 if that had a wee spot of haggis.
Oh, needs more haggis.
Just a wee spot.
Tell you what, though, good bagpipes, though. I normally hate bagpipes, but they had good bagpipes.
Oh, dude, the music's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
But I just
really
wanted to listen to the music, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, tomato meter, 76%. And the audiences gave it 85%. So,
okay.
Yeah, they're liking it, but they're not loving it. Which is kind of us, even though we gave it a thumbs down. Brandon Jadell from the Critics Incorporated America Online. Very fancy. Brandon says, it's sad that... he gave it a bad review. He said, it's sad that Paramount Pictures, which has many gay employees, has stooped to release such a flawed work of bigotry and force them to stand behind it. Whew. I think this guy's got a whole agenda that's not appropriate.
Can you read it again? Sorry.
It's sad that Paramount Pictures, which has many gay employees, has stooped to release such a flawed work of bigotry and force them to stand behind it.
So that's obviously referencing
the gay couple in it?
Yeah, the gay couple, yeah. Then the king then throws out the window. But
yeah,
to be fair, let's be fair to the film, and it's, even though it's historically inaccurate,
they're not going to make a film about the Scottish War of Independence and suddenly have this huge like gay romantic subplot.
No, but my point is that like given the time, that relationship wouldn't have been looked on fondly.
No, and like I'm all about I'd love gay subplot storylines, like they're great, but like I know what it would have done for this film, even if we had a rich gay.
Well, no, maybe
subplot.
It's just a thing of maybe it doesn't need to be in it, but
no,
or as yeah, I don't know. Like it's, I feel like it's not the reason to bring the whole film down.
No, I wouldn't criticize the film for that. Like,
yeah.
But again, like needs to get
he throws that guy out the window and it's brutal and it's kind of the prince is this weak male. But I wouldn't say it's because he's a homosexual that he's weak. Either.
No, God, no, he's spineless for many other reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
That.
And yeah,
can't even shoot arrows. Or remember that archery scene, and he just misses everything. Like he's just a shit bloke. Like, but
also like he's just got no idea of his kingdoms or the world or anything. Like he's just he needs help.
He's just a plek.
Yeah,
isn't he? Quentin Curtis from Independent, he's from Independent on Sunday. He gave it a bad review. He said, Gibson has extended his hair, but not his directorial range.
Hey, I totally agree,
burn.
dude. I totally agree.
Yeah. I know. I think it is the worst haircut. I've settled on that now, Brenton.
No, it's not. Don Cheadle's in Boogie Nights is the worst haircut I've ever seen in my life.
I would have loved this film more if Mel Gibson had Don Cheadle's hair from Boogie Nights. That would have been amazing. Okay, so Jamie Bernard from the New York Daily News, he wrote a positive one. He said, a lavish, entertaining spectacle full of manly men, dastardly villains, rousing battles and women who easily see Mel's hero potential through all that messy hair.
Yeah.
But I don't know, if you want like a classic fairy tale story, I feel we can do better than Braveheart.
It's not a really classic fairy tale story
No,
at
it's
all.
not.
It's like everyone dies and Scotland eventually gets its freedom, but we don't see it.
Brendan Gleeson seems to be okay. He's just standing in the crowd at the end. Like
yeah, dude. Yeah. But he's about to run into a huge battle where I presume
he probably does die,
most of the army dies. So let's just
everyone
say
dies,
dead.
as Mel Gibson says. Everything burns. Gary Thompson from Philadelphia Daily News, he said, Mel Gibson's Braveheart is a rousing romantic battle epic featuring a cast of thousands, many without heads or arms.
Good one.
Thanks, Gary. Gary Thompson. Is that the guy
it's not really a review, is it? It's just kind of like stating what the film is.
If you like watching limbs getting cut off, by the way, if you do, like this is your film.
There's a lot of like right leg. I think it's right legs being cut off in this film. There's like
Gibson's
3 right legs that it's always the same shot of just the right leg just going.
Yeah. Brian R., he gave it 1.5 stars, and he said, boy, Mel Gibson sure does love to scream dialogue.
He does scream a lot in this film.
He does. He's not like Willem Dafoe level, but like...
No. But it's juxtaposed by a lot of like quiet scenes with William. You know?
Yeah, I agree. That's another review. DeVoice V gave it 2.5 stars and said, a typical commercial film.
I wouldn't call this film typical.
I get like it does feel very Hollywood, doesn't it?
It is in a sense, but
it doesn't feel gritty at all, or like, you know, avant-garde, or like on the edge of the knife. You know what I mean? It just feels like,
that's it. It's just plodding through the.
It feels packaged, like commercialized. Like it's just a typical, like, you know, product film.
The reason I'd say it's not typical though is that it's like 6 films in one. It's like jam-packed. It's like, whoa.
Yeah,
whoa,
exactly.
nothing's connected.
It's like a buffet of a film. It's like pick your subplot. What do you want?
It's like when you go to a buffet and there's like this like sushi section, and then you go and get some cream corn or something, and and you eat it together, and it's just not.
And then at the end of the meal, you're like, why did I mix sushi with like nachos?
Yeah, exactly.
This doesn't work.
Exactly.
And Chris A, he gave it 4 stars, and he said, despite its flaws and perhaps lack of originality, this film is truly a classic and delivers a proper epic with strong acting and costuming.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, I feel like if you want a strong epic, watch Ben-Hur.
Yeah, okay. I haven't seen Ben-Hur, so I can't.
Oh, it's so good. It's like it's longer than this film, but it's a million times better.
I'll have to watch it.
Like,
we'll have to watch it.
We will have to watch it. I'll watch it again with you.
Maybe on
Lawrence of Arabia is probably better, although it's not as epic. Yeah, there's heaps. We should do a historical epic, because I don't think we've done one.
No. Well, I mean, this was the first one, but
yeah,
but it wasn't very. It wasn't very historical. Yeah.
No, we should do something like, you know, like 10 Commandments or Cleopatra. Like there's ones from like the 50s.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We should consider it.
But that was Braveheart.
That was Braveheart. He was sure Braveheartin', wasn't he? Like,
he was my Braveheart. He was.
That William Wallace. Like, do you know the story about like the really shit statue that's like in Scotland of him?
No.
There's a really like poorly made shit statue like of clay that's like near some important place that he visited, and it's the most hated statue in Scotland because it's of Mel Gibson. It's not of William Wallace. It's of Mel Gibson, and it's got like the word Braveheart on a shield, and it's just a really shitty statue, and the public have like voted to have it removed, and then in 2008 it finally was.
I gotta look this thing up online.
It's
after
such
the podcast.
a shitty statue. Wow. Listeners at home, just Google it. It's fantastic. It looks as though like they hired a primary school to make it, and all the kids had like a different idea of what the statue should be, so they all had their own little parts. Oh, it's great.
Oh man. Well, until next week. Keep eating haggis.
Yeah.
Swinging your sword.
Scotland. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
Like, what was that accent?
I don't know what I was doing, you know.
No, I'm talking about me. Like.
Oh, right.
Well, you know, we'll just keep on podcasting because they may take away our views, but they'll never take away our opinions.
See you next week, guys.
Bye, everyone.